Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another LeetCode question. Today we have question 463, Island Perimeter. You are given a row X column grid representing a map where grid IJ equals 1 represents land and grid IJ equals 0 represents water. Grid cells are connected horizontally/vertically. The grid is completely surrounded by water and there is exactly one island. The island doesn't have lakes, meaning the water inside isn't connected to water around the island. One cell is a square with side length 1. The grid is rectangular. Width and height don't exceed 100. Determine the perimeter of the island. Okay, so the essence of my solution is that we will iterate through all cells one at a time and check its neighbors. So if its neighbors, there are 4 neighbors for each cell. If a cell is a water cell, if a neighboring cell is a water cell, then we add 1 to answer. And if a neighboring cell is out of bounds, then we add 1 to answer. And that's it. And then we return answer. So if we look at example 1, right? So we're going to iterate through. Oh, wait, hang on. So check its neighbors. If the cell is a land cell, then we check its neighbors. So in example 1, we will start from top to bottom, left to right. The first cell is a water cell, so it's not a land cell, so we're going to skip this one. The next one is a land cell, so then we will move on with the algorithm, and we will check all 4 neighbors. If you look here, there are 3 spots that are added to the answer, and the pattern is this neighbor cell is a water cell, this neighbor cell is out of bounds, and this neighbor cell is a water cell. The bottom one is a land cell, so we don't add the bottom line, the bottom perimeter. So we only add those 3. So at this point, our answer would be 3. And then when we continue, there's a water cell, so we skip, water cell, we skip, and we get to another land cell, and then we check its neighbors. So this perimeter, out of bounds, so we add 1. This perimeter, it's a water cell neighbor, so we add 1. This perimeter is a land cell, so we skip. And the bottom is a water cell, so we add another 1. And that is basically the essence of the solution. The runtime is O of n because we check every cell in the worst case, and the space is O of 1. We don't use any extra space. So let's code the solution. So rows and columns is going to be the length of grid and the length of grid 0. So we're just assigning some variables here, and we can't make rows and columns equal to each other because in the question it says that the grid is rectangular. It's not a square. So the height and width could be different numbers. For X in range rows, for Y in range columns, if grid XY is equal to 1, meaning it's a land cell, then we continue with the algorithm. So its neighbors is, I'm not going to hard code the neighbor part of the algorithm. There is a clever way to do this, and just by putting the neighbors in a tuple inside of a list, and then we can use that to adjust the XY coordinates to find its neighbors. And so it's 4 neighbors. Yep. And then for n in neighbors, for new x and new y in neighbors, we will just adjust it. So x and y will be the adjusted x coordinates and y coordinates. So it will just be x plus nx, y plus ny. If xx is not in range rows, or yy not in range columns, or grid xxyy is equal to a water cell, then we add 1 to our answer. Else we just continue and then we return answer. So we're just checking if the neighbor cell is out of bounds or it's a water cell. If it is, then we'll add 1 to the answer like we talked about, and if it's not, we will continue to the next cell, or we will continue to the next neighbor. And then at the end, we'll return our answer. And then let's check if that works. It works. Submit. And there you have it, folks. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Peace out.